Now we have to watch what we're saying.
I don't know. Okay. And then we lost Jacqueline. Jacqueline's coming in and out, so I know she's got some stuff going on. Very good. All right. Well, we'll open with just a reminder of our the major theme verse is Psalm 139:14, which is, I praise you, for I am fearfully and wonderfully made. Wonderful are your works that I know very well. I praise you, for I am fearfully and wonderfully made. If all our youth come away with that reaffirmation, what a great blessing that will be for life. We'll begin with prayer. The Lord be with you.
And also with you.
Let us pray. Oh God, we thank you for this amazing opportunity for our youth to be together as one with the presence of your Holy Spirit. We ask that you would be with all those who are working countless hours to plan for this life transforming experience of faith, that you would be with our youth here in South Carolina, our leaders, as preparations too are being made for this journey that will continue to open eyes and hearts to your amazing infinite love. Just to be with us as we walk in these days ahead, that we might know the overwhelming grace you offer for us all. In Jesus' name, amen. Very good. And I just saw Jacqueline unmute. So
yep, I finally made it. Sorry, I had some computer problems, but I'm there.
That's good. We just shared like our congregation and kind of how many people we had going from our group. So
okay. Well, I am from St. Philip's in Newberry, and I have got 4 kids and 2 adults going.
Awesome. And then we've got on this afternoon session, we've got Chris from Joy Moore and Celeste from St. David's in West Columbia, myself from Living Springs, and Pastor Emily's there at the Synod office connecting with a bunch of folks. And she is recording it so that we can share this with some folks who weren't able to log in this afternoon or the previous Tuesday night. So
okay,
that's okay.
Great.
I'm going to see if I can share my screen. Did that show up? Anybody?
Yes.
Okay, great. All right. So again, the theme created to be, hopefully we've all got that in our brains right now. This data was as of January, so it's changed significantly since the February deadline passed. But in mid-January, there were 13,000 for the gathering, 500 for mile, 86 for table, and about 250 for the young adult gathering. Originally coming out of COVID with the 2 cancellations, they were thinking maybe 15 to 16,000 for this first gathering, post-COVID gathering, and it looks like we might be on target for that. So we're really excited that that'll fill up the Superdome and the Convention Center as we grow back out of COVID. But those numbers have changed since that slide, and we're waiting for an update after the February registration deadline came. This is helpful information. On-site registration occurs at the Convention Center, and we'll look at the map in a second, but this is down by the river in New Orleans, and there are the registration times if you haven't seen that. So Monday, the registration is open from 3 to 8. Tuesday, registration will be open from 8 a.m. to 8 p.m., and that's where we can go to the center. If you see the little orange box, that's on the Great Hall pre-function. That's sort of the area where registration's taking place. If you're going down into New Orleans, that's facing the river. That's sort of on the right side. And the Great Hall behind that's where community life will be going on. So there'll be things happening during registration that all the youth can participate in. So they're not just standing around or waiting in line. So that's going to be exciting. Have community life happening during registration. The halls are where the Interactive Learning Center will be, which will be one of our days is devoted to Interactive Learning Center, and that'll be on a larger map. But the main part of that slide is just to know the registration times. We can talk about this later, but you may have seen the notes that went out about this will be the first gathering that has clear bag policy because of the Superdome and Convention Center rules. Things have just changed in a lot of ways since our last gathering before COVID. So how that affects registration is sometimes in the past, you could go straight to registration with all your luggage, everything, just hang out, do registration, then get to the hotel. Many groups did not do it that way anyway, but this time to think through that, because we can't take like if we show up at the register at the convention center with luggage, it can't go into the convention center because of the clear bag policy. So probably figuring out a way to go to the hotel, get all your luggage stored there, get checked in, whatever that looks like, and then can either send representatives, or because the community life's going on the Great Hall, the whole youth group can go down to registration and participate that way you're signing in. But just the clear bag policy throws a little bit of wonkiness into how that registration process might look like for us. These are some dates. Most of these have already passed, but just a reminder that April 15th is when registration completely closes. So right now we're in that late registration period where additional youth can still be added. It's just about it's that extra $50 that we're paying right now. But April 15th is a hard deadline if you're trying to get additional youth registered. And then April 30th, put that in big stars somewhere on your master calendar. That's when all the final balances are due. That's when the deadline for cancellations and substitutions. Up until then, we can switch out youth if you need to, or cancel it and get refunded except for the deposit. The rooming lists are also due then. You should have, when you got your hotel notification, you should have got a document that allows you to start making room assignments, and housing's finalized. So April 30th is a huge date to continue to keep starred wherever you need to start. May 1st is required adult leader trainings, and I might need to say something about that. This is a little different in that every adult leader who is going needs to complete this training, and it's an online training that's done through similar to the G-Learn process. And when we register at the convention center, they'll have the master list of which adults have completed the training. And if there's some adult that hasn't completed that training course, they'll have to step out of line and be somewhere off to the side and log online on their phone or whatever it is and do that course. Because that's this is a hard requirement, is that every adult leader who's attending has participated in that online course, because it just reminds us that as adult leaders, we have responsibilities, and that we're participants in the gathering as well, that we're not just having random people come as chaperones to hang out and do whatever in New Orleans without knowing exactly what this call is to be part of this life transforming experiences. And that goes all the way through June 15th. So between May 1st and June 15th is the period when any leaders who are going need to go online, and we'll have the links, and they'll be sending out more for that. That May 15th deadline, that's when we'll get information about our schedule. We'll know which day is going to be our Synod day, which day will be our interactive day, which day will be our accompaniment day. And that's when all those final details will be released. They can't put all those pieces into place until after the sort of April 30th deadline, when all those cancellations and substitutions, everything's happening, so they can make sure they've got people in the right synods and congregations in the right schedule for Synod day, accompaniment day, and interactive day. All right. So let me pause there. Any questions, observations about the dates or registration?
Do you know if the adult leader training, is it going to be like you just go on whenever you want and do it, or is it going to be live sessions that you have to do? Or
the way I'm going to preface everything with the way I understand it. Okay. The way I understand it, what they're telling us is they can go anytime. So it's like the G-Learn courses. If we're taking any of those, you can just log on and do it at any time. So it's not like
self-paced.
Yeah, it's not a webinar. It's not, and I think it's pretty much just one session that has to be done. So it's not an ongoing thing. I just lost. let me go back. There are some webinars scheduled. The February 1st webinar was about Mile in the Table, which may not affect anybody on this group. February 8th, there was a webinar about accompaniment day and accompaniment experiences. If you missed that one, it's posted on the website. Go to the YouTube recordings that are there, so you can still see that one. On April 17th, there's going to be another webinar. It's 8 o'clock Eastern time, about what to expect. May 1st, the one will be about more logistics. And then June 27th, some final details and questions and answers. So you might want to note those dates, but they're on the website as well, the 17th of May 1st and June 27th. That's just the general map. If you've been to other gatherings or not been to a gathering or been to New Orleans, you may know New Orleans is the most youth gathering friendly city logistically that there is. If you've been to Houston, Detroit, some other cities, there's not enough hotel space in the center to accommodate everybody. So if you were at previous gatherings in some of those cities, you had to stay in hotels out on the periphery and clusters, and you basically ended up packing up in the morning, going down to the main site during the day, and ending up back at your hotel perhaps at 11:30 or midnight. But in New Orleans, everything's within walkable distance. The largest walking is from the convention center to the Superdome, which is 1.42 miles, something like that. So even if you had to do that full walk, you're less than a mile and a half, which for youth and adults, and then there are transportation options for those who have mobility needs. But our hotels are scattered out in between those areas. So, it also makes it possible, they were saying at the training, to think through being friendly to our youth. It might allow them to get to a hotel in the middle of the day, take some 30-minute downtime, and it's not quite that experience in some other places where you're just leaving at 8 o'clock in the morning and not getting back to 3 or 4 in the afternoon. So that'll be helpful. New Orleans, unlike some other cities, is just set up for they thrive on hospitality. So they're lifts, Ubers, food, everything. They're well equipped for this, as opposed to other sites we go to where they're functioning as an industrial city, a corporate city, and there happen to be things there. But New Orleans is really set up for everything.
Take that to Chris for tomorrow.
Okay. So we're very excited to be back into New Orleans. Housing, everybody's got their hotel assignments. I think I've heard from everybody on this group. The prices they're posting, when you go log into your account, that's all the fees and the tax. The last part here, if you need to do something different with your room assignments, you email gathering@elca.org with your ID. But don't contact the hotel directly, because they're not authorized to do anything. Anything that's got changes, adjustments with housing assignment has to be through that gathering website, and they let the hotels know what's going on. All right.
Pastor Eric.
Yep.
My kids that are going with the young adults, so they have not gotten their housing or their hotel assignments, and I don't have access to it because they had to register themselves. Do you know anything about when that's supposed to come out, or would I contact that same email?
You could contact that same one. I think most of the young adults are in the same hotel or within 2 hotels. So unlike the youth gathering where we're scattered out all over the place, the young adults are trying to be centralized together for the most part. But yes, you can contact that same email website, and if I find out an answer, I can let you know that as well. These are some transportations. I can actually send you this flyer. It's also available on the website. So if you're chartering a bus or driving a van, they're working on secure flat service parking lots where people can park. So if you can't get in and out of like the hotel parking garages and things like that. If we're flying, they had enough requests that they're going to have Louisiana Motor Coach providing transportation. It's not cheap, it's $25 per person, but it's available and workable. and they'll have more details after that, after March 1st. Otherwise, you're thinking probably Lyfts, Ubers, those sorts of, that sort of transportation really works well there in New Orleans. From the convention center, the Superdome, if that's that 1.4 miles, which is the maximum distance, there will be a shuttle running at the end of each day from roughly 4:30 to 6:30 is the time they're telling now, in case you end up in a situation where it's that. We budgeted in our travel, we're not renting because it's New Orleans, we're not renting a vehicle while we're there. We did that in Houston and Detroit just as backup, but we did budget a little bit for some Uber and Lyft money in case we need to end up to take that in bad weather or something happens, and a lot of groups are doing that. Not for all the transportation, but just as some backup plan. And there will be reservation details for those with mobility needs, and that'll show up via the G News, is how to make arrangements and reservations for those with mobility needs. Transportation questions at this point. They also shared this is the first time in the past in the gatherings, the huge majority of synods and congregations came in charter buses, but they're seeing fewer charter buses scheduled for this one and more flights. And that may be because we even looked into charter buses for the Synod, and they're just astronomical now. And all the synods are finding that it's like $90,000 versus it used to be 20, 30 sometimes, depending on what synod you're in. And so people, instead of being able to charter these massive buses for synods, most are traveling, either flying or finding. We have some folks in the Synod who are doing trains. We have a couple who are renting, driving with vans. Safety and security tips, that's available online. It's very sort of standard stuff. The one that would be important here is about number 3, have all medical information easily accessible. So you want to keep copies of that, current photo, ensure someone else has the information, have it easily accessible. Part of stored digitally is what they're recommending, so there's not a lot of loose paperwork floating around with people's information on it, and your primary leader should at least have access to that. Medical, the things they're highlighting medically, hydration, proper shoes. They talked about constipation, how that's apparently has been a major problem at the gatherings before. So I'll let everybody navigate that themselves. And then on the second part of this is COVID. The gathering is not enforcing any COVID protocols of their own, other than lifting up the current COVID protocols, whatever they may be at the time. Right now, it's still anyone testing positive should be isolated from others for at least 5 days. So you might think about at least what your COVID backup plan is. We're going to have all of our youth are bringing tests with them, or we've got some extra as a group. So we'll have that available, and just what the possible arrangements might be if somebody in your group tests positive. It doesn't mean the whole group's out, but they just encourage, or the current requirement is if a group has been exposed to COVID, the people who are not testing positive, even if they've been exposed, are encouraged to wear the mask when in public around other people. So that's the protocol as of now, or this was of January, that was last changed in the beginning of 2023. But you could have that discussion with your group, think through that with your youth, your leaders, what might be some backup plans there. It's probably not, in reality, it's becoming not all that much different from what happens if somebody in the group gets the flu or has something else going on too. So any transportation, health, safety questions? again, this is the convention center, which is where all the interactive stuff will be. If you've been interactive, is all the activities from anywhere from games, from servant projects to music. All the colleges will have things, the camps. It's just an amazing experience for them to be in that, you know, hundreds of thousands square foot thing with ministry and focus and faith, and it's wonderful. The mass gathering, there's a picture of all the communion ware. Some of our groups have signed up to be communion assistants. You could do that when you registered, so that may be on tap for you. These are pictures from Houston. There's one of the key slides that they're using in preparation. Just some beautiful words. I'll give you a minute to read. If every young person can hear those words, what wonderful gift of grace that is. Went too far. And there are the themes for each day. So Tuesday through Saturday is created to be brave, authentic, free, disruptive disciples. But then the mass gathering theme, that's the part in green. And you can find this online. You are not alone. You are seen. You are loved. You are called. You are sent. And we see those, some of those sub themes are showing up in our devotions already. Community life and hotel life. Community life will be the activities that are centered in the convention center and that great hall I talked about, not the interactive learning halls, but in the community hall. And also will be outside the Superdome in the plaza area. So you be games, quiet spaces, music, space to meet and interact with some of the speakers. The community center, that's what I mentioned at the convention center. It'll open on Tuesday, the community life area that's in that great hall behind the registration. I can skip this one. Hotel life will be there'll be hotels in each of 3 zones. So zone 1, the Hilton Riverside, you can mark these on the map. Zone 2, Marriott and Sheraton are right beside each other on Canal Street. And zone 3 is the Hyatt Superdome, and that'll open at 4 p.m. once people are headed in that direction. And if you're familiar with hotel life, there'll be dances, music, also quiet spaces, some interactive rooms where youth could have dialogue with some of the speakers if they find that meaningful.
Eric?
Yes.
Now for hotel life spaces, are those assigned like other days, or are those you just kind of pick?
Yeah, you can pick. The hotel life's going on every night, every day. So hotel life's every day, and you can I think you can be in either zone. It's not like your hotel will be in one zone, but I don't know. I haven't heard whether you're free to go to another zone. I think in terms of logistics, it'll self-regulate, because just in terms of travel time and walking, you'll want to end up in the zone that your hotel actually is. So you'll be close to your hotel. But yeah. Keep it right. Community life. That's at the convention center. And there's more. That's games, inflatables, food options, music, dances, silent disco, place for the group to play, karaoke, a main stage, large game rooms. So all that's convention center. And some of that will be set up out on the plaza by the Superdome. And here are the hours. So this is not hotel life, but community life opens Tuesday from 1 to 6. Hotel life is from 9:15 to 10:40 in each zone, but zone 3 will be a little different. That's the one that's up at the Superdome and might begin at 4 on Tuesday and Wednesday. Community life runs from Tuesday through Friday. Okay. There was a question on the Tuesday night session just about folks got into a conversation about supervision during hotel life, and different groups have different strategies. So within the hotel life area, there'll be multiple rooms, like the quiet room and the music room or dance going on. The consensus there and that in our Tuesday night session was that it's really good to make sure that you have some adults connected with, if you have youth in each room, rather than just not knowing where they're at. But that might be a way to partner with some fellow Synod congregations too. So if you have youth are going to the quiet room, and there's an adult from a sister congregation or a fellow congregation that's going to be there, you can kind of touch base about that too. But there was some conversation, I'm just passing that along. There was conversation about that on Tuesday night as to how the wisdom in handling hotel life. So where your youth are if they're in the one room versus another ballroom. Accompaniment day, the previous gatherings, the phrase was servant day, but accompaniment day is maybe more insightful into we're accompanying people on a journey of God's kingdom together, rather than coming from a hierarchical place of looking down on people and we're somehow better serving you. So that's that language. And again, we each had preferences we could sign up for: advocacy, action, or awareness. It's just more about what we'll be doing and some of the principles of partnership. So if you end up with an action project, there are things like neighborhood organizations, libraries, animal rescues, disaster recovery groups. Those are actually more hands-on project type. Those are action. Advocacy, focusing on roots of injustice like affordable energy, anti-racism, hunger, global education partners. So you may end up with an advocacy experience. Awareness tends to be a little more cultural: filmmakers, bands, dancers, artists, craftspeople, being enriched by the diversity of that community in which we're called to be a part of during these days. But that'll be accompaniment day. On the night of, on May 15th, we'll find out when South Carolina congregations, what's our accompaniment day. We'll all have the same accompaniment day, even though we may be going on different tracks. We're supposed to eat breakfast before we go to a launch site. There'll be 3 possible launch sites, depending on what your area you're in. And then you'll get a text the night before, just affirming and confirming where you're headed and what site to be at. There'll be some debriefing time allowed for afterward. There is not lunch provided on accompaniment day because all the projects will end by 1, and we'll have more time to be in the communities. But we will have our orange shirts. So there'll be accompaniment day. You'll have your orange gathering shirt. For our Synod day, I sent a little bit of preliminary information. We'll have our Synod shirts to wear. So there'll be 3 ways to get to your accompaniment project, depending on which track you're at. If you're riding a bus on accompaniment day, you'll go to the Superdome and catch buses there. Or you may be walking to the convention center because you're in some activity that's based in or around the convention center. Or if you're driving, there's a place in your account where if you're driving and you would like to drive using your own transportation, go into your account and indicate that, and they can they can make you an assignment based on the fact that you have transportation and want to drive directly to your accompaniment site, which might allow you to be in some site a little further out of the main part of the downtown city, if that's attractive to you. More about the buses, the walking projects based out of the convention center, and the drive yourself options. That packing list will be everywhere for your accompaniment day, so probably not too much time to spend on that. More information there. If you haven't seen the in-kind offering gathering is for hurricane relief kits. And we're assigned by region as to what each region is supposed to contribute to those kits. So if you look down Region 9, that's us. Our items are small lanterns that are AA battery powered, but we don't, Region 6 is doing all the batteries, so we don't need the batteries. And there's an Amazon list that'll appear online where if you want to order these, you can have them shipped directly to the gathering site. If you don't want to pack a bunch of lanterns and carry them down there. But that's our focus part of Region 9 are the small battery powered lanterns. Just walking, hydrating, that's that. All right. Any accompaniment day questions? Okay. So there'll be 3 days that your interactive learning day, which will be in the convention center, accompaniment day, which will be one of those 3 tracks, and then Synod day. Synod Day has a new format from previous gatherings. Earlier gatherings, we were all together for the majority of the day. This time, we'll be together for an abbreviated worship experience, either in the morning or the afternoon in a ballroom that will be assigned to us as the South Carolina Synod. The bishop will be there to deliver a message, preside over Holy Communion. It'll be a worship experience. I'll send out an email within a few weeks. If you have youth who would be gifted and like to participate and help with the worship experience, I'll detail the role. It can be from just helping with communion for those who are more hands-on. It could be someone who wants to speak maybe read a lesson or be one of the litany leaders, or one of the prayer, or help participate in the prayers. So it could be speaking roles. Also, if we have musicians in our group who we would like to provide live music, that could be adults or youth. We'll be getting them together, and they'll probably have to practice once or twice before we go. So, but that it's always neat when we can have musicians provide and that could be singers or instrumentalists. So we need good, strong voices as well. Ignore the 1:15 time, that's irrelevant to us. But the other half of the day, so worship will be half a Synod day, or either morning or afternoon. The other half, Goose Chase, if you want to look this up somewhere, it's like a scavenger hunt app. There's a free version of it that you could download and experiment with, but it's a very simplified version. And the gathering has the whole complex version of this app. And so that every participant can download it, and they'll have links to that and more information later. And so this Goose Chase scavenger hunt on the other half of our Synod Day, we'll be participating in this experiential scavenger hunt throughout the city. Groups can have friendly competition against each other, sort of amassing points. Synods can be competing against each other, and there are different kinds of experiences where you take pictures. They're cultural. You find things, have interaction with somebody, go to a historical site, get a picture of you with a band on the street, you're having a conversation with somebody who owns a restaurant or something, or it is all kinds of different faith site. So there are all kinds of different experiences. There'll be an expanded version of Goose Chase, which is not only the Synod Day scavenger hunt, but where our youth and leaders can also start doing things even when you leave from the gathering. So there might be things like, get a picture of your group with somebody who's doing janitorial services in the airport you're leaving from, or saying thank you to someone, or that's just that may not be one, but that's the type of thing that we can be doing. Youth can be, and groups can be amassing points, not for the Synod Day, I'm just using air quotes, competition, but for the overall experience, and even all the way back, things to do, like sharing things with people in your congregation and so forth. So if you want to explore goose chase a little bit, you can do that. There's some groups when we were at the training who were it depends on if you'd like to do this or getting access to goose chase, or if maybe even the free version, and just doing some stuff to let the youth start playing around with it and doing little mini things as a youth group activity. So so that you could have some fun, but you have to create if you're doing that, you have to create your own scavenger hunt, whatever it might be, or list of activities for the youth to do. All right. Anything about Synod Day? Mile, we have about 20 to 16, it's about 17 youth from the Synod going to Mile, which is the multicultural event. And then we've got about 13 youth from the youth or younger adults going to the table, which is for those who are differently abled or somewhere in that continuum along the way. Volunteers, that's the other big group. We had some people from the Synod who they're still looking for servant volunteers. We had a few folks from congregations signed up for that, because that's a neat way that young adults can participate in the young adult gathering and have their transportation and housing paid for. So that's a good opportunity. And they can be gathering volunteer corps, hotel hospitality, or the local volunteers. But the gathering volunteer corps is what our young adults would be volunteering for, if you know anybody. Communications, just be all over the place with those again. And those are all the slides they gave us to share. So stop that. All right. What any ideas to share? Any questions that any of that sparked? Everybody's excited on a Sunday afternoon. I'm still missing a few congregations who haven't let me know like their hotels, but I've actually been able to get the hotel master list from the youth gathering, so I've got that complete now. But I'll give a few more days, and if I don't hear, I'll send out a new Excel sheet to everybody that shows all the congregations, what it'll have all of our hotels, so you can see what hotels everyone is in from South Carolina. It might be missing some travel plans but probably about 2/3 of them I at least have some information of what they're thinking about at this point, if they haven't finalized it. No, that's been helpful for a few congregations who have smaller groups wanting to partner up with somebody else, and maybe who are thinking about what dates or would like, oh, well, maybe we could ride the train with you or join in a group flight package with another congregation or something of that sort, or ground transportation. They're taking vans or buses.
Pastor Eric, I didn't get the rooming assignment that you said we needed to fill that out. Where should I have gotten that from? Or maybe I missed it.
It should be on the there should be a link in your account. If you log into your account where they made the hotel assignment,
Okay.
under one of those hotel tabs, there should be a form that's active now that you can start putting names in there.
Gotcha.
And someone asked this, I'm trying to think of questions that were asked Tuesday night. At one point in gatherings, we paid the hotels directly. Now all the hotel payments showing up on your account. So on your account for the gathering, that'll include all your hotel bill payments and as well as your registration fees. So everything's going directly there into one, and they're taking care of that, which I think is going to be a lot simpler. I remember payment headaches at hotel desks before. So I'm glad they were able to pull that off this time. If you there was some conversation Tuesday night about meals. Again, New Orleans, the the New Orleans, the official City of New Orleans hospitality site is excellent resource. And you can get there and see all kinds of recommendations about, even depending on the size of your group, if you are trying to set up food reservations or catering, and we can keep sharing ideas with each other. And New Orleans is, of all the places, again, New Orleans has been the best, in my experience anyway, of being willing to work with youth groups, because they're excited to have us there. So they'll even make reservations like months out in advance, and they may require some payment ahead of time, but it just can take a lot of headache out of, oh no, where am I going to eat with 20 kids or 15 kids or a group of 18 or whatever at a particular time. The little wild card we don't know yet until May 15th. We won't know which day is which for each. We won't know like which is our Synod day and which is our accompaniment day and which is our interactive day. But some of those days, the timing's a little independent, and you can probably, even no matter what you're doing, what day, you can be thinking about, well, I might need supper or lunch or at a given time. And you don't have to, I'm not suggesting you have to have reservations, but sometimes that's helpful if the group's larger. But a number of restaurants in New Orleans, the last 2 times we were there, I mean, they knew we were there, and they just set up like buffet lines where you could go through and pay a price and whatever and it wasn't, I mean, they adapted to having a mass group in there and really made things happen. Looking through my notes. Oh, somebody said to make sure everyone knew Cafe de Monde only took cash. At least the original Cafe de Monde down by the riverfront that all the groups try to go to, but they've got ATMs all over the place. The smaller ones that are in the riverfront outlet mall by the convention center and the one at the airport, they'll take credit cards, but your youth may want the authentic experience. For Synod Day, our hope is, once we get the assignment, that at least one of those meals we could possibly eat together as a Synod. So depending on whether we have worship in the morning or afternoon and when the scavenger hunt is, we could theoretically like all be together in some place. It would be very simple, so it's not going to be extravagant, but we could have like, pizza for everybody, and now let's go start the scavenger hunt. Everybody go. Or on the reverse end, everybody starts their scavenger hunt from their hotels or wherever, and then we all meet together somewhere and maybe have subs or pizza or something to wrap up the scavenger hunt before worship. But that's the plan we're working on for Synod Day. We're just a little encumbered until we can know exactly what day it is to get the schedule in place, the details in place. If y'all think that would be helpful, and it gets our Synod youth together for some interaction a little longer than just the shorter worship time this year. Could also pair up when we do the scavenger hunt. If you've got youth groups who are nearby that you might like to build relationships with in beyond the gathering, maybe get with some leaders. You can pair up as be a team of 2 youth groups together from the same area or whatever, or 2 or 3, and go on a scavenger. So when you're doing the scavenger hunt, that's another chunk of time when your youth are with other youth and are split up into sub teams if you need to, but mix some groups if you want. So there'll be some creative ways to do that and build some relationships that could last beyond the gathering. Chris, I'm sorry.
Yeah, Eric, is there going to be a way that we are going to know which churches are going and what leader to contact from our Synod?
Yeah, I'll send that. It was on an attachment to one of the emails I sent out, but I'll resend it. I'll resend it as an attachment with the updated hotel list. And it'll have it's got the congregation name. There are 25, 24, 25 of us, depending on how you count, and the primary leader name. Yeah. We're in the counting adults, we're probably in the 300-ish range from South Carolina, looks like where we'll be, which is maybe prior to COVID, we had gotten close to more like 5, sometimes 6, but 300 is probably a really good number, a post-COVID number for us, and actually a little above average, or not a little, but above average from some of the synods our size. So we're excited about that. And there are probably a few well, I know there are a few congregations who are represented, but they're not on the master list because they just have 1 or 2 youth, and those 1 or 2 youth are part of another larger group that's registered. So those congregations aren't showing up on the list because, there's like 1 or 2 youth from that congregation who are coming along with some other group. So we have a few more congregations than just the ones listed. They are asking us, my final note I had, they are asking each synod to have a gathering of some type of the adult leaders by late April or May, and gathering, they're giving us some parameters for that. Gathering could be online gathering or in-person gathering, or maybe multiple in-person gatherings in different locations. But they would like, at least before June gets here, for the leaders to have other than just sort of this optional question and answer session, for us all to have been together with, and they're going to have some specific outline of information and content for that. I think that's it. Good. What else can we talk about in 5 or 10 minutes? Okay. If you have youth who are artistic and creative and would like to submit either a full or a part design for our Synod t-shirt, send out information about that. March 15th is kind of our deadline for that, and we'll see what design components got submitted from the youth, and we'll parlay that into the Synod t-shirt, and then we'll get information out about getting all the sizes and so forth, so we can have the number made out, and we'll get those distributed in June, so that everybody will have their shirts ahead of time to wear on Synod Day. And the next email I send out will have more information about if you have youth, or you could go ahead and send it to me. If you have youth who you think would find it meaningful to be in some leadership capacity in Synod Day worship in some way. But probably particularly the musical piece, that's going to be the most, takes the most planning. If you have instrumentalist or good vocalist who would like to be a part of the Synod Worship Day choir or instrument band, whatever it is, we can, and so adults could be involved in that as well. Some of our adult leaders. Pastor Emily, anything from
Y'all
your
are
level?
awesome. Thank you for giving time and energy and effort to being with these kids and young adults for what's going to be a really meaningful time for them, and in my experience, meaningful for you too. So just appreciation over on this side.
Yeah.
Also, my house is currently blasting Disney movies, so I apologize for whatever of Prince Ali is coming through.
That's very nice. I forget some of the research they shared is the top 10 events, fact, whatever it may be, in shaping youth in their faith journey. And youth gathering is in the top 4, along with camp experiences and, then faith in the home and some other things. So it really is a powerful life shaping experience in amazing ways. And just echo Emily's thanks for each of you making that possible for your youth. All right. If you need anything in the meantime, please let me know. I'll see what I can track down and try not to gum up the works too much. Y'all are the ones who know what you're doing more than I probably. All right, very good. Jacqueline, good to see you. Good to see everyone. I just knew Jacqueline as a youth.
Thank you.
I'm echoing that. All right. All right. Thank y'all so much.
Thanks,
Thanks a
Pastor.
lot.
Pastor Eric, thanks everybody.
Pastor Eric, I had a few questions, but they're
Yeah.
not really relevant for the whole group.
Okay, sure.
I'll turn off the recording. If
Oh,
you-
okay.